Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel where I talk about historical topics that you may have skipped over in history class. If you're new here, welcome. If you're joining us again, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about Empress Wu, also known as Wu Zetian, a woman of low rank who started as a low-ranking concubine and worked her way up to being China's first and only female emperor. While this is a prestigious title for her to hold, she didn't get to her position as emperor just willy-nilly. She got there kind of through some backstabbing and a little bit of killing as well. So grab a snack, grab a drink, and snuggle up with a blanket while we talk about China's Iron Lady. So, Wu Zetian entered the emperor's court in 637 AD as a low-ranking concubine, like I said. She was only about 13 or 14 years old in Emperor Taizong's harem. And Wu Zetian was pretty good at her job as being a concubine. She was entertaining, beautiful, and the emperor soon took notice of this. It wasn't just her beauty and charm that was great, though. She actually had a lot of political prowess. How did she become so charming, you might ask? Well, it was actually because of her parents. They were super duper encouraging at this time for getting her educated by allowing her to study a bunch of different subjects like politics, literature, and music. This really helped her stand out in the emperor's court because at this time women really weren't allowed to be educated. It was pretty rare to see a woman who was this well educated, for sure. When Taizong died, the customs of the time said that his concubines who had bore him children were allowed to go live with their children because they had the emperor's blood flowing through them. However, someone like Wu Zetian, who did not give the emperor any children, was supposed to live out her life as a nun in a Buddhist temple. So when Wu was hanging out at the temple for a while, in comes Taizong's son, the next ruler, Emperor Gaozong. Quick side note, when Emperor Gaozong rose to power, he had a wife along with his typical harem of concubines. His wife's name was Empress Wu, and her rival was the emperor's favorite concubine, consort Zhao. Wang hated Zhao because Zhao was the favorite concubine, of course. And during this time in China, the wife of the emperor was expected to be the highest ranking female of, the group, I guess. So Empress Wang wanted to hold the highest amount of power. She really didn't like consort Zhao being out here like, oh, I'm the emperor's favorite, don't mind me. So she probably thought that she should be the favorite, right? So Empress Wang is sitting there, she's scheming. She's like, how can I get consort Zhao out of power, out of her position as the emperor's favorite? So one day after the previous emperor, Emperor Taizong, dies, new emperor, Emperor Gaozong, is lighting some incense at the same Buddhist temple that our Wu Zetian is working at as a nun. He lights these incense kind of as just like paying his respects to his late father. And now, since Wu Zetian has become a nun, he and Wu Zetian kind of share this touching moment, really kind of just grieving over the death of Emperor Taizong. Empress Wu sees this chemistry and she's like, what if I replace consort Zhao with this girl? Don't ask me why she was trying to replace consort Zhao with just another pretty person. Honestly, that doesn't really make any sense to me. I think Empress Wang just wanted consort Zhao just gone because she was the favorite gal of the emperor, and she was like, no, I just want her gone. So Empress Wang is probably thinking if she replaces consort Zhao with Wu, then she really won't have anything to worry about and they can live as a big happy family. Yay, her and the emperor, and then, I don't know, some of his concubines. However, when Wu kind of replaced consort Zhao, because that ended up happening, she quickly became the emperor's favorite, which totally backfired in Wang's face. Eventually, Wu had a son with the emperor, and their son's name was Li Hong. He was born in 653. Then she gave birth to another son named Li Jian, and then a daughter in 654, and then another son named Li Jian as well in 655. It gets a little confusing. I don't really know the language that well, so I could be mispronouncing it too. So I don't know, I might be completely butchering it, but just remember that there's two Li Jians. One is the second son, one is the fourth son. Unfortunately, their only daughter that they had died shortly after her birth due to strangulation. Kind of fishy. It was alleged that Empress Wang had killed the baby girl out of jealousy. She did look pretty guilty, to be fair. She wasn't able to produce an alibi for, the time after she had played with the baby girl. And she totally hated Wu because she pretty much took the same place as Consort Xiao. Other theories suggest that Wu actually killed her own baby girl to frame Empress Wang and then therefore kind of give herself a leg up, give herself some leverage to go ahead and, kind of overthrow her later on. There is also a third theory about how the baby died, and that's just regular crib death, I guess. At this point, it wasn't really uncommon for babies just to die, especially due to sudden infant death syndrome or crib death, like I had mentioned. So that's also another possibility. However, we won't really ever know because we don't have any forensic evidence. We don't have any confessions or anything like that. So it's kind of up in the air as far as what actually happened. And we just have speculation to go off of. By this point, Emperor Gaozong was pissed that one of his children was possibly dead at the hands of his empress. The empress that he didn't really care for that much. Honestly, at this point, Emperor Gaozong was just looking for a reason to throw Empress Wang out. And, he just really wanted to replace her with Wu. So he started putting out some feelers with the chancellors in his government. He was trying to see, can I get some permission to go ahead and just throw my wife out and replace her with my concubine? So that's pretty much exactly what he asked his chancellors. And the chancellors just kind of nervously laughed and they're like, anyway, they just changed the subject kind of, because they didn't want to straight out just be like, no, you can't do this. But they were also kind of like, dude, don't replace your wife with your concubine. That's not a good idea. So it seemed like after his chancellor sort of redirected him in the no, don't do this kind of position, he sort of dropped it for a while and everything went back to normal. Except it didn't. Because Wu was like, oh my God, I want to be empress. What is the holdup? So she waited a few months until the summer of 655 AD. And she was like, yeah, Empress Wang, I think her and her mom are doing some witch shit. This increased the distaste that the emperor had for his wife already. And it also totally tarnished her name with the higher up officials because, of course, there's rumors going around of oh my God, Empress Wang's a witch. Oh my God. A little while later, the emperor brought in some higher ranking officials again to get their 2 cents on replacing Empress Wang with Wu yet again a second time. And most of the officials kind of held their tongue. At this point, they were like, oh, she's doing witch shit. Okay, I don't know if we like her that much. But they didn't totally want to get involved with the emperor's familial affairs. So a lot of people just held their tongues. So eventually one of the officials kind of by default are like, it's your family, Emperor Gaozong. Why, our opinion really shouldn't matter. And this was all of the permission that Emperor Gaozong really needed in order to throw out Empress Wang. I think he just wanted to know that nobody would be completely pissed off at him if he did go ahead and throw out his wife and replace her with his concubine. So he did exactly that, and he replaced Empress Wang with now Empress Wu. And Empress Wu's first mission was to kill the bitches who tried to mess with her. So she tried to go for Empress Wang and Consort Xiao. Because at this point, like, yeah, Empress Wang was sort of conspiring and scheming against her, but she actually teamed up with her former rival, Consort Xiao, and they were like trying to take Wu down at this point, and try to stop her from getting power. So, yeah, Empress Wu was like, bitch. And they were tortured until they eventually died a gruesome and cruel death. So by 656 AD, Empress Wu and Emperor Gaizong were a pretty good unit, but Empress Wu totally had him wrapped around her finger. Like, I mean, she always had, you know, like, she was pretty much his favorite from the time that she really stepped up into the court for him. But now there were no social barriers holding them back, so she could pretty much do whatever she wanted. She persuaded Emperor Gaozong to appoint her son, her first son with him, Li Hong, as the next heir to the throne, which kind of broke a lot of social norms at this point, because typically the son of the wife would be the heir to the throne. However, Empress Wang was not able to produce any children for Emperor Gaozong, so it would have fallen to his oldest concubine, like the oldest son of his oldest concubine. So this kind of overrode that, and it kind of ruffled some feathers at this point. This was like a good demonstration of her power to everybody. Everyone was like,
oh my god, he did what? He appointed her son as the next heir? That's wild.
With this new power, Empress Wu started to replace old government officials who didn't really agree with her with new ones who totally supported her. And the first people on her shit list were the two main chancellors who really disapproved of Emperor Gaozong getting rid of Empress Wang and replacing her with Empress Wu. These two guys were named Han and Lai. And they originally thought that Empress Wu didn't really suspect them. They were low-key kind of talking shit behind her back. But Empress Wu was like, bitch. And she knew they were talking shit. She kind of told them to, like, watch their backs, you know? And they both should have done a better job of trying to watch their backs or keep the peace or something. Because eventually they pissed Empress Wu off enough for her to be like,
accuse those bitches of treason.
Han and Lai were not killed or anything, but they were definitely demoted, and their names were kind of dragged through the mud because they were accused of treason. I know I'm making Empress Wu sound really catty and mean, and like that might have been true based off of her actions and like how backstabby and quick to killing people she is, but that's not to say that she didn't do a lot of like progressive stuff for China at this time. For example, like we'll kind of get into it later in this video or another one because it might be too long for me to do more with. But she definitely was advocating for merit-based like raises and merit-based promotions within the court. Like other people would normally just allow like higher up nobles and, you know, nobles' kids to be promoted to higher ranks. But she really thought that, you know, if somebody with a lower status comes in and they're good at their job, then they should definitely be raised up and, you know, be given a chance to kind of prosper, which was really cool. Also, during this period of time, women were really able to do a lot more than they historically had been. For example, there's a lot of ceramic sculptures of women who are wearing like men's clothes and doing things like riding horses, which historically were not allowed. By 660, Empress Wu and Emperor Gaozong were really like having a good time ruling side by side. However, the emperor's health started to deteriorate more than it had been. I don't think I really mentioned this, but Emperor Gaozong was a pretty sickly person to start. He took power when he was 21, And he was like always prone to bouts of like dizziness and, you know, just really not feeling good. People now think that it was an issue with like hypertension or something like that, but really we don't know. Like I said, he would have bouts of dizziness, he would have headaches, loss of vision. So when he wasn't feeling well, he would just kind of step out, let Empress Wu do her thing and make some decisions. And, you know, she was like, good, see ya. Like I said before, she was really knowledgeable in the areas of literature and politics. So usually everyone agreed with whatever rulings she had made in the court. The emperor at this point also sort of lost some interest in governing affairs. You know, he, one, was working on his own health decline and everything, and two, he probably was like, I don't really care. I'm just kind of like over it at this point. So he let Empress Wu do her thing and thereby gave her more power. Soon, Empress Wu was making larger scale decisions like forbidding women in the Chinese Empire from haiku, which was pretty much the equivalent of being a burlesque performer. She even appointed military leaders to attack Goguryeo, I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong, which was a Korean kingdom. Even though she had so much power at this point, Empress Wu was like still haunted at night. In her dreams, she'd see images of Empress Wang and consort Xiao's tortured bodies, and she believed that their spirits were after her. As time went on, the emperor's illness got worse, but he kind of gained back some interest in governing affairs. However, Empress Wu was like not having any of it. You know, she already had this power, so she doesn't want to give it back to him. She was already making decisions alone about the empire, and she was kind of pissed off when Emperor Gaozong was like,
okay, you're done. Come back. I'll take it from here. Thanks.
Her reluctance to give him back his power sort of pissed Emperor Gaozong off a little bit more as well. He was like, what the hell? I'm the emperor. Like, I'm supposed to rule. What are you doing? Another thing that really pissed him off even more, like on top of that, was that Empress Wu was now resorting to witchcraft. And if you remember before, she tarnished Empress Wang's name by accusing her and her mother of doing witchcraft as well. So, super pissed off and feeling a little betrayed, Emperor Gaozong goes to one of the less biased chancellors, a guy named Shangguan. And he's like,
Shangguan, what do I do? Like, I'm just in this situation. Can you help me out, dude? Just give me some advice.
And Shangguan was like,
dude, you got rid of your previous wife. Just get rid of Empress Wu, too.
Together, Shangguan and the emperor write up a draft. And it's a draft to depose Empress Wu, or like kick her out of office, pretty much. Empress Wu catches wind of this idea to throw her out of power before they've like right as they've finished writing up the draft. I don't know how, but she like busts in. She goes straight to Emperor Gaozong and she's like,
I'm sorry. Like, I love you. I'm sorry.
and the emperor like he yeets Shangguan under the bus, just completely blamed the entire idea on this poor man. And Empress Wu was like,
bitch.
So naturally, the next step is to accuse Shangguan of treason and execute him too. After seeing this, the emperor more readily took Empress Wu's advice. He let her sit in on meetings and let her wear a yellow robe, which was more traditional for the emperor to do. Anyway, like everyone was pretty shook, of course, because she wanted to be treated like she had power. But on top of that, Emperor Gaozong was even a bit scared of Empress Wang after she had executed Shangguan, because if she ever found out that he was also conspiring against her, it would be his head next. So, with his wife being absolutely insane at this point, Emperor Gaozong is having a sad boy moment. You know, he's getting a little closer to Empress Wu's sister, Lady of Han. And like I said, he's having a sad boy moment. He's doing his thing. And they kind of hit it off for a second. They're kind of vibing. And they start to have an affair. Well, Empress Wu heard about this affair. And of course, she's like,
bitch.
And has her sister poisoned. Emperor Gaozong is like, okay. I can always, give her daughter a new title, like Lady of Wei. And maybe I can keep her daughter at the palace as a concubine, too. And I swear, like, Empress Wu must have had some kind of, like, spidey sense or something, because her niece didn't even have to be brought to the palace as a concubine for her to be like,
bitch,
and poison her ass too. Like, at this point, like, Empress Wu just needs to button it up, y'all. She just needs to button it up a little bit, because she's poisoning everyone willy-nilly, poisoning people here and there, and then accusing people of treason here and there, and everyone's just dying at this point. I'm laughing not because it's funny, but because I'm like, dude, how can you blatantly just get away with killing people for funsies like this? Things are about to get much worse, y'all. Remember Li Jian? Well, I know there was 2 Li Jians, but the first one, her second son. Yeah, well, things are about to get pretty intense with him. So Empress Wu got like slightly salty with Li Jian's wife's family. So yeah, kind of think about that for a moment. There's a lot of people in this story. But she got mad at Li Jian's wife's family and decided to punish Li Jian's wife by putting her under house arrest. And oopsie, she just died of starvation during this time. Like, what? A while later, her firstborn son, Li Hong, is like, Mom, you gotta like step it back. You gotta button it up, like we're all thinking, and just, you know, not be doing all this shit. You like let Dad rule it a little bit, you know, take a load off. And of course, she's like,
bitch,
and she poisons him too. So naturally, Li Jian is quaking in his boots, because he's probably thinking he's gonna die next. He's thinking like, hey, Mom just killed my wife on one hand, and then my older brother on the other hand. Who's next but me? Soon, Li Jian hears rumors that he is actually the son of Lady of Han, not Empress Wu. This is not true. It was just a rumor. But that's what he's thinking. And he's thinking, well, if the Empress really isn't my mom, then like what's even stopping her from killing me? You know, that like I said, this was only a rumor, but like he didn't know. Like, his mom was doing wild shit. When Empress Wu found out about this rumor and that he was kind of maybe thinking it was true, because she always finds out about this kind of stuff, she was of course pissed, but instead of her usual signature moves of accusing someone of treason or poisoning somebody, she opted for a more motherly lesson this time. She had a team of writers assemble as a little powerhouse to create 2 books for Li Jian. The first one was titled Good Examples for Xiao Yang, and Xiao Yang just meant crown prince. So Xiao Yang was him. And the second book was called Biographies of Filial Sons. In addition to these 2 books, she wrote a bunch of letters just like chewing him out, totally pissed at him for believing any of the rumors, even for a minute. And of course, Li Jian is like, oh shit, she outlined all of the stuff I'm not supposed to do. She's mad at me. If I even breathe wrong, I'm gonna die. So he's kind of backing off, trying to walk on eggshells. Things start to settle down for a moment. But then shit started hitting the fan. So Li Jian was said to enjoy his entertainment, like the ladies, booze, music, and he was particularly close with some of his male servants. No hate here, you know, if he's into men and women, all the power to him. But people in 7th century China were not that open to the LGBTQ plus community, which was unfortunate for Li Jian, because his mom tattled on him to the emperor. And Empress Wu didn't just like tattle on him, she full on accused Li Jian of committing treason and ordered the crown's military personnel to raid Li Jian's home. They found a bunch of armor and weapons at his place, which they thought could be evidence of a coup. So instead of executing the prince for all of this stuff, they deposed him from his position, like kind of threw him out from his position and exiled him. He didn't actually like really get like exiled and banished from the kingdom. He pretty much just got put under house arrest, which I'm sure wasn't like lovely and wonderful, you know. It was probably not the best condition, but he was still allowed to live, is what I'm trying to say. it was still very intense. This entire time was very intense for Li Xian. And you might be wondering, like, is this the end for Li Xian? Is he also going to starve to death like his wife did? Is he going to be poisoned? Is he going to be executed soon? Well, I'm sorry to say that I'll have to tell you more about this story in the next video. That's where we'll pick right back up on the next video. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!